On the night of June 12, 2020, a graduation celebration was held in Shoelace Park, located in the Allerton section of the Bronx, New York. The gathering was informal, with an estimated 150 people in attendance. Among those present was 19-year-old Tyanna Johnson. She had traveled from Seymour, Connecticut to join the celebration with friends. Tiana had recently completed her associate's degree and was pursuing further education. At approximately 11:55 p.m., a silver BMW approached the area. Two unidentified individuals exited the vehicle and began firing handguns into the crowd. Multiple gunshots were fired. Four individuals were struck by bullets. A 24-year-old man was shot in the groin. A 16-year-old male was shot in the ankle. A 15-year-old male was shot in the buttocks. Tyanna Johnson was shot 5 times, including once in the head. Emergency services arrived shortly after the shooting. Tiana was transported to Jacoby Medical Center. She was pronounced dead. The other 3 victims survived their injuries. The suspects left the scene in the silver BMW. As of the time of this report, no arrests have been made. The weapon used in the shooting has not been recovered. Despite the number of people present during the incident, the investigation has not produced a suspect or a clear motive. The case remains open and unsolved. Stay with us as we unravel this shocking story and uncover the heartbreaking details of what led to this senseless loss. If you enjoy real crime stories that uncover the truth, don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us share real cases, spread awareness, and give a voice to those who can't speak for themselves. Before we begin, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from, and what are your thoughts as the story unfolds? Welcome to True Crime Tales, where we reveal the crimes that shock communities and the secrets hidden behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's begin. Tyanna Johnson was a 19-year-old young woman from Seymour, Connecticut. Born in 2000, she lived a relatively quiet and focused life centered around education and family. According to public records and interviews with her family, she had recently completed an associate's degree from Monroe College, a private institution known for programs in business, criminal justice, and health administration. Her academic path was intentional. She had already registered plans to continue her education toward a bachelor's degree, showing consistent progress toward long-term career goals. Tiana did not live in New York. She had traveled from Seymour to the Bronx to attend a graduation party. This indicates that she likely had friends or social connections in the area. Seymour is a small town in New Haven County, about 2 hours from the Bronx. Her decision to be present at the June 12, 2020 event shows she was socially active and maintained relationships beyond her immediate neighborhood. Tiana's mother, Natasha Allen, played a major role in her life. Public statements revealed that Natasha was highly involved in her daughter's academic and personal growth. She described Tiana as quiet, driven, and respectful. There is no public record of Tiana being involved in criminal activity or disciplinary incidents. According to her family, she stayed away from conflict and maintained a clear focus on her future. Tiana was described as peaceful and goal-oriented. Teachers from Monroe College noted her academic discipline and commitment to classwork. She reportedly maintained a good GPA, though her exact academic standing has not been made public. Friends and family have referred to her as focused, indicating a young woman who prioritized structure over distraction. There is no known affiliation with gangs, troublemakers, or risky social behaviors. On social media, Tiana maintained a moderate presence. Her profiles feature school-related content, photos with family members, and occasional personal updates. There is no public evidence of inflammatory posts, public disputes, or attention-seeking behavior online. Her social presence aligned with her real-life image, quiet, deliberate, and purposeful. Tiana's hobbies, according to her mother and friends, included reading, music, and fashion. She was interested in pursuing a career in health or education, though she had not officially declared a major for her bachelor's degree program. She frequently talked about becoming independent, finding a good job, and eventually supported her family. She had a small but close circle of friends. These peers have not been publicly identified due to the ongoing nature of the criminal investigation, but they reportedly describe her as someone who avoided parties, rarely stayed out late, and generally maintained a cautious lifestyle. Her decision to attend the Bronx graduation party on June 12th was unusual for her, according to people who knew her. On the night of June 12, 2020, a graduation party was underway at Shoelace Park in the Bronx, New York. What began as a celebration of academic achievement soon turned into a horrifying and tragic event. The gathering was filled with excitement, joy, and anticipation, with over 150 people in attendance, mostly young adults and teenagers. The crowd was made up of friends and family, all there to honor the graduation of local students. Music played in the background, food was shared, and people were laughing, dancing, and enjoying the night. At approximately 11 p.m., a sudden and violent interruption shattered the celebration. Two unidentified men pulled up to the park in a silver BMW. The car was parked a short distance away from the crowd, its occupants seemingly unremarkable at first glance. However, what followed next would leave the entire community in shock. Without warning, the men got out of the car, approached the crowd, and began firing their weapons indiscriminately. The sound of gunshots pierced the air, causing panic to sweep through the park. In those first few moments of chaos, no one could have expected the severity of what was about to unfold. The men fired multiple rounds, targeting the crowd without regard for who might be caught in the crossfire. It was a cold, calculated attack, leaving no one safe. Among the victims was 19-year-old Tyanna Johnson, who had been standing with friends and family, enjoying the celebration. Tiana, an ambitious young woman who had recently graduated with an associate's degree from Monroe College, was struck by 5 bullets, including one fatal shot to the head. The impact of the gunfire was immediate and devastating. Tiana fell to ground, and those around her quickly realized that this was not just a random incident but a deadly attack. In the chaos that followed, 3 other individuals were also injured. A 24-year-old man was shot in the groin, a 16-year-old boy was struck in the ankle, and a 15-year-old boy was shot in the buttocks. All 3 victims were rushed to the hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. The shooting was swift and brutal, and in just a matter of moments, lives were changed forever. As the shooters fled the scene, emergency services were called. The sound of sirens soon filled the air, and paramedics arrived quickly at Shoelace Park to tend to the wounded. Tiana, who had been shot multiple times, was rushed to Jacoby Medical Center. Despite the best efforts of medical staff, she was pronounced dead shortly after arriving at the hospital. Her tragic death left a profound void in the hearts of those who knew her. A young life, full of potential, had been senselessly taken in the blink of an eye. The other victims were fortunate to survive, but the trauma of the attack would stay with them. The park, once a place of joy and celebration, became a crime scene, its ground stained with the blood of the innocent. As police arrived to investigate, the question on everyone's mind was simple. Why? Why would anyone open fire at a graduation party? What had triggered such a violent act? The NYPD began its investigation immediately. Surveillance footage was collected and witness statements were gathered, but no clear answers emerged. The 2 shooters, now known to have arrived in a silver BMW, had disappeared into the night without a trace. Despite efforts to track them down, the suspects remained unidentified. No one could provide any concrete information about the shooters' identities, motives, or even their connection to the party. In the aftermath, several theories began to circulate. Was this an act of gang violence? Was Tiana the intended target? Or was she simply in the wrong place at the wrong time? Some wondered if the shooters were targeting someone else at the party, and Tiana had tragically been caught in the crossfire. Others speculated that the men had a personal connection to someone there, though nothing concrete was ever found. The most unsettling question remained. Did anyone at the party know the shooters? Was this a planned attack, or did the men simply choose this location for their crime? The lack of information and the silence from witnesses only deepened the mystery surrounding the incident. Despite the trauma and shock of the night, many attendees were reluctant to speak up, fearing retaliation or retribution. This made the investigation even more challenging for law enforcement. As police continue to search for answers, the shooting at Shoelace Park remains unsolved. No arrests have been made, and the shooters are still at large. Tyanna Johnson's death has left a deep wound in her family and the Bronx community, and the search for justice continues. Why would anyone open fire at a graduation party, a time meant to celebrate achievements and new beginnings? Did someone at the party know the shooters, or was this a random act of violence? If you were there that night, would you have spoken up, or would you have stayed silent? After Tyanna Johnson's tragic death on June 12, 2020, her mother, Natasha Allen, was faced with the unimaginable, losing her daughter just as Tiana was poised to embark on her future. In the weeks following Tiana's murder, Natasha became one of the most vocal figures in the fight for justice. She didn't remain silent. Instead, she made public pleas for answers, urging anyone with information to come forward. Natasha's calls for justice were broadcast on news outlets, social media platforms, and during interviews, where she shared her grief but also her determination to ensure her daughter's death wasn't forgotten. Natasha's public statements focused on two main points: the desire for justice for Tiana and her belief that someone in the community knew what happened that night. In multiple interviews, Natasha appealed to the public, asking for anyone with information to step forward. She made it clear that Tiana wasn't just another statistic in a city plagued by violence. She was a young woman with dreams, a future, and a family that would never be the same without her. In the wake of the tragedy, the Bronx community came together to honor Tiana's memory. Several vigils were organized in Shoelace Park, the very location where Tiana's life was tragically cut short. The gathering provided an opportunity for family, friends, and community members to show solidarity, while also demanding justice for the young woman whose future had been taken away. At these vigils, attendees held candles and shared memories of Tiana, remembering her not as a victim, but as a vibrant young woman with a promising future. The vigils were also a platform for people to come together and discuss the issue of gun violence in the community, especially in public spaces where such tragedies could occur without warning. The public response was strong, but despite the emotional outpouring of support, Tiana's family and the community were left with the same questions. Who was responsible for her death, and why was there no closure? The murder of Tyanna Johnson did not go unnoticed on social media. Hashtags such as hashtag Justice for Tiana and hashtag RIP Tiana quickly circulated, with people from across the country expressing their condolences and calling for justice. On Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, Tiana's story became part of the larger conversation about urban violence and unsolved homicides. Many used these platforms to spread awareness about Tiana's case, hoping to reach someone who might have witnessed something or had information that could help solve the crime. Social media allowed Tiana's name to stay in the public eye, even as the case went cold. People shared posts that highlighted her life and accomplishments, reminding others that Tiana was more than a headline. She was a daughter, a friend, and a young woman with ambitions cut short. However, the effectiveness of social media in solving crimes is often debated. While hashtags can keep a story alive and gather public support, there's a concern that the online attention may not translate into actionable tips or police leads. For Tiana's case, the social media response brought awareness, but didn't lead to a breakthrough in the investigation. The media played a significant role in bringing attention to Tiana's murder. Local news outlets in the Bronx, as well as major platforms like People magazine, reported on her death. These outlets focused on the tragic details of Tiana's death and the search for justice, ensuring that the case stayed in the public consciousness. People magazine, in particular, covered Tiana's story in depth, highlighting the fact that she had recently earned her associate's degree and was preparing to take the next step in her academic journey before her life was violently cut short. Despite the media's efforts to keep Tiana's story in the spotlight, the fact remained that the case was no closer to being solved. The continued press coverage helped remind the public and the authorities that Tiana's murder was not just another unsolved crime, but one that had affected an entire community and a family that continued to seek justice. As of 2024, Tyanna Johnson's case remains unsolved, despite the extensive efforts of the NYPD and other law enforcement agencies. Tiana's family still doesn't have the answers they desperately seek, and the public remains uncertain about who was responsible for her death. The NYPD has continued to investigate the case, with focus on video footage from the area and interviews with potential witnesses. Despite these efforts, no arrests have been made, and the case remains officially open but cold. The NYPD has also implemented reward programs, hoping to entice someone with knowledge of the crime to come forward. The authorities have released footage of the two unidentified men believed to be responsible for the shooting, but as of now, no solid leads have materialized. Community members, including Tiana's family, have questioned why the case remains unsolved despite the large number of people who were present at the party and the growing public pressure for answers. The fact that Tiana's murder remains unsolved has had a profound impact on both her family and the community. For Natasha Allen, the grief of losing her daughter is compounded by the frustration of not knowing who took her life and why. The unresolved case has left Tiana's family members feeling abandoned by the justice system. They continue to live with the pain of her loss, and the uncertainty of whether they will ever see justice adds to their emotional burden. The community, too, has been affected by the unresolved nature of the crime. In a city already grappling with crime and violence, Tiana's murder is a stark reminder of the dangers that can occur in public spaces, and the difficulty of getting answers when a case goes cold. The fear that many people feel in the Bronx has only been heightened by the perception that even large, crowded events like a graduation party are no guarantee of safety. Do public pleas help or harm investigations like this? Could public pressure cause law enforcement to rush the investigation? Or does it build awareness that could eventually lead to the right tip? Would you speak up if you knew something? If you were a witness or had information, would you come forward to help solve the case? Or would you remain silent? Why do so many urban homicides go unsolved? What are the factors that contribute to the lack of resolution in cases like this one? Is it the fear of retribution, the complexity of the case, or something else? What prevents justice in cases like Tiana's? Is it the difficulty in identifying the perpetrators? Is it apathy, fear, or something in the system that prevents cases from being solved? This case, like many others, continues to highlight the struggles faced by communities trying to confront gun violence and the challenge of seeking justice when the system fails to provide answers. The tragic death of Tyanna Johnson at a graduation party in Shoelace Park, Bronx, has left many questions unanswered. As of now, the shooter remains unidentified and the case is still open. But what could have led to this senseless violence? Let's break down the possibilities. One of the leading theories in this case is mistaken identity. Shoelace Park was crowded that night, with over 150 people gathered to celebrate. The shooters, two men in a silver BMW, opened fire on the crowd, seemingly indiscriminately. It's possible that Tiana was not the intended target, but was struck simply because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Given the number of people at the scene, the shooters may have misidentified their intended victim. If they had been aiming at someone else in the crowd, it would explain why Tiana, who had no apparent connection to the shooters, was hit 5 times, including once in the head. However, this raises questions. Why would the shooter open fire in such a public, crowded place? If it was a case of mistaken identity, what was the original conflict that led to such violence? Was the shooter even aiming for Tiana? Another theory suggests that Tiana was simply caught in the crossfire of a targeted attack. The shooters could have been after someone else at the party, and Tiana just happened to be too close to the intended target. Perhaps the shooters knew someone at the party and were seeking revenge or retaliation. This is not an uncommon occurrence in large gatherings where old grievances or rivalries come to a head in a chaotic moment. In this scenario, Tiana's tragic death was not personal, but rather a random outcome of a targeted attack on someone else. This theory raises further questions. Was there a specific person at the party that someone had a vendetta against? Could one of the other partygoers have been the real target? Could one of the guests hold the key to the case? A third theory involves gang retaliation or a random act of violence. The Bronx has seen its fair share of gang-related violence, and Shoelace Park, being a known location for such gatherings, might have been the setting for a gang conflict. It's possible that the shooting was an act of retaliation from one gang to another, and Tiana was an unfortunate bystander caught in the middle. Gangs often operate in urban areas where they hold territories, and rivalries can escalate quickly. Alternatively, the attack could have been a random act of violence. In such an unpredictable environment, where many young people were gathered, violence can erupt without warning or reason. The shooters may have been motivated by a variety of factors, such as anger, frustration, or a simple desire to instill fear. Both of these possibilities suggest a broader issue within the community, violence that spills over into public spaces, affecting innocent people like Tiana. Was the shooting the result of a long-standing gang feud? There's also speculation about connections to previous crimes in the area. Shoelace Park is no stranger to violence, and the surrounding neighborhood has witnessed several incidents in recent years. Could the shooting be linked to any of these earlier crimes? It's possible that the shooters were involved in other violent acts, and that Tiana's death is just one piece of a larger pattern of criminal activity in the area. The lack of arrests in this case may also suggest that the shooters have been involved in similar incidents before, evading justice due to fear or the code of silence in certain communities. As the investigation continues, the NYPD has urged the public to come forward with any information related to the case. Despite the release of surveillance footage showing the silver BMW and the two suspects, no significant leads have emerged. The police have appealed to the community, asking anyone who might know someone to speak up and help solve the case. They have even offered a reward for information leading to an arrest. Could a small tip solve this entire case? What if you have the clue that cracks it open? As of now, the case remains unsolved. The identity of the shooters is still a mystery, and Tiana's family is left without justice. What we do know is that Tiana was a young woman with a promising future, a recent graduate with plans to continue her education. Her life was cut short by a senseless act of violence, and her death has left an entire community in shock. With no arrests made, the investigation continues to focus on finding new leads. But the question remains, who killed Tyanna Johnson and why? Let's keep her memory alive by keeping this case active. The more attention we bring to it, the more likely it is that someone will step forward with the information needed to bring justice. What would you do if this was your sister? Do you think justice will ever be served in this case? Let us know in the comments. If you found this story as gripping and heartbreaking as we did, don't forget to like this video and share it with others. And if you want to hear more true crime stories that uncover the mysteries behind these tragic events, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest stories, updates, and discussions. Thank you for joining us on this journey to seek justice and explore the truth. Together, we can make a difference. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.